everybody. Welcome to Michael Maher Live, a show that I named after myself with total humility so that people would come and watch me do things live on the internet. I guess that was pretty much the basic premise. But I own and run an agency called Cartology. We help brands to win on Amazon. You want to talk more about that? Always happy to talk about that. But I bring on guests to this show where we talk about brands staying relevant in a fast changing world. Brands could be agencies, brands could be legitimate CPG brands or clothing brands, whatever the case might be. And we bring on people to talk about staying relevant. And so today on the show, I have with me Phoebe Tan. She's co-founder of Taelor. Welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do at Taelor.
Thank you so much for having me, Michael. Hi, everyone. My name is Phoebe, co-founder of Taelor. So at Taelor, we help busy men to look great seamlessly through our rental and resale business model. We are also a demand intelligent engine company for brands, uh, using leveraging our AI intelligence to give them a lot of customer insight, help them to make better product design development decision.
You have recently partnered with someone called Run the Runway. Rent the Runway. I'm sorry, Rent the Runway. Tell us a little bit about that and kind of how that works for you.
Sure, yeah, it's a really successful partnership for us. Run the Runway, they are the champion of the clothing rental business model. They've been around for 16 years. Many people have heard of them, as but they focus on the women markets, right, all over the US. As for Taylor, we are still a relatively young startup. We've been around for about 3 years, based in the Silicon Valley, right? For us, we focus on the menswear markets, right? Targeting busy men. They want to look great, but they don't know how. That's why we leverage the AI, to style them. So they don't have to pick their clothes. So the user journey is a little bit different. But for rent a runway customers, they've been using the service for years, long time, right? They've been educated. Not only they've been educated, their husband, their boyfriend, their family and friends, right? They see them, wearing rent a runway clothes, look fabulous all the time, right? And they ask, I wish there's something like that for men, right? There
Right.
is. It's called Taylor, right?
It's called Taelor.
That's why,
Welcome to Taelor.
exactly. That's why, yeah, it works well. We are very honored that we can partner with Run to Runway and reach out, to more customers. And also helping them in a way that, they can uh, offer the service to, their customers, significant others, family and friends as well.
Behind every well-dressed man is a great stylish woman, I like to say. And I dress well cuz my wife just buys me clothes and is like, "Here, wear this." And I think I could do it on my own, but I rarely leave the house. So, I'm very blessed that she shows up with great clothes, but not everyone maybe has that or is thinking about
Yeah,
that.
you are the lucky one.
I am the lucky one for sure. 100% blessed. Thank God every day for my amazing wife of almost 18 years. It's 17 and a half basically, but I'm just going to keep going to the next year. But when you think about it's the same model that you have as the Rent the Runway, but it feels like you're solving a very different problem. When I think about a woman that's maybe going to one of these, you know, um, rental models, maybe it's like a convenience thing. For guys, I feel like it could be a convenience thing, and you would know better than me. So correct me if I'm wrong. But also, I feel like it's a confidence thing. A lot of guys, I don't think, know that they can wear more than just a t-shirt and jeans, or that they can even be stylish. And part of it could be like, hey, I'm starting to lose weight, or I'm feeling more comfortable in my body, and so I'm trying new stuff. Maybe I don't want to commit to a whole new wardrobe, but I know that I want to try new things. And as you start to feel more confident in your what you look like, you start to feel more comfortable in those new clothes. Does any of that sound true, or am I way off the money there?
Yeah, I think that definitely has some truth to it. You know, as a founder, right, running Taylor for 3 years now, one of the things that I learned is that what people say they want
Hmm.
and what they actually enjoy wearing are very often, very different.
Okay.
And that's why we really focus on, the customer behavior, right? And how we can inspire them, to look differently. And ultimately, we don't only focus on what they say, customer preferences. That way, leveraging the AI, yeah, becomes so powerful, right? And that's, you mentioned earlier, yes, we are quite different from Rent the Runway in terms of how we solved the problem, right? So for women, in general, of course, everyone is different, right?
Sure.
General, speaking for myself, right? Because I've been using clothing rental for many years, over a decade now. I want to wear different clothes every day.
Hmm.
I don't want to look the same. I don't want to show up to an event. Oh wow, you wore this dress before, right? We
Yeah.
like to look
I'm
differently,
guilty of that. Not wearing the dress, but wearing the same nicer shirt that I have many, many times. Which, by the way,
right?
your sweatshirt or your sweater is amazing. I think
From Rent the Runway, yeah.
I would
Thank
consider,
you.
okay, there you go. Great promotion. But
It's
I
very
would
unique,
consider
right? It's
wearing that.
different,
Oh,
yes.
yeah. I like the
So
flashy stuff though. So
okay, okay, I know how to style you now.
you know how to style me now. Oh, yeah. The wilder, the better.
Yeah,
Bring it
we're
on.
quite similar. I think for men, specifically our customers, they just want to save time.
Okay.
They want a convenient way to look great. They want to look great with very minimal effort. That's why by design, we use the AI to style them. They come to tailor, they don't have to shop clothes individually, right? They come to us, we curate a perfect outfits for them, using our technology, and that generates a lot of insight data that's very helpful. And it become a data flywheel for us to do a lot of amazing things, whether it's inventory forecasting, whether it's helping our clothing brands to make better decision. I think that's our differentiator. It's a data engine that we are able to generate from our business model.
So was this a problem that you solved from a place of having tech capabilities, or was it, hey, we want to solve this problem, and then you brought in the tech capabilities? What was that problem solving process like for you?
That's a great question. I think the focus earlier on, yeah, was really, to solve the pinpoint. Hey, I want to look great, but I don't know how.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to look great, but I hate shopping. Right. Speaking for myself, right? Hey, I want to look great, but I really hate shopping. I don't like to spend a lot of time, shopping, even online. Today with Rent a Runway, you still have to browse through thousands of amazing clothes, but you still have to pick clothes individually. I think, early on we knew that this is a pain point that we want to solve. And we truly believe, the future of fashion, right? The future of looking great, yeah, it should be seamless, right? I really, really believe the convenient, yeah, it's becoming the new luxury, right? I think for brands to continue to do well, and the winning brands, they are not necessarily, the brands that people love the most. I think they are the brands that truly make an impact, truly to make their life easier, better, right? I think convenient, yeah, is the focus for us early on. How can we achieve that? Yeah, we leverage the technology. Good thing we are in the era of Gen AI, which evolves so
Yeah.
quickly, in advance so quickly, right? So we are able to leverage that, to make this possible.
You've talked about, what people say essentially versus what they do, which I absolutely love. And someone could fill out a survey and say, I like this, I like this, I like this, but then make very different decisions, which I think is a common human thing. Like, I
Mm,
think one thing and maybe I just lack understanding of like, I have an ideal, but my actions speak different to that. And I think there's a lot of incongruencies with like people. So like
mm,
I'm sure I have those. Like, I really value family time. And then what do I end up doing in family time? I work through that, or I spend time on my phone. I don't think I'm like as guilty of those things anymore as me, maybe I would have been in the past, but like I know that I value that thing. I just don't actually act on it. So I'd love to hear more about. So I think that's a common problem that we see.
Mm.
How do you identify that and then actually give people what it is that they want while not negating what it is that they say that they want? You know what I mean?
Yes, yes, yeah. It's a very interesting. I mean, that's how um, human behavior, right? So it's not
Yeah.
as we are no robots. You can't. That's why it's so difficult to program humans' mind. It's very complex.
Yes.
It's very complex, right? We think we know who we are. Do we really know who we are?
There's a reason
Right?
the MK Ultra experiments did not go very well and it created serial killers. It's because humans are not easy to program. Well said.
Right, right. I think for that reason, and especially when it comes to styling, right? Fashion. You play with arts. How do you play with arts and science at the same time?
Mm,
The creative part, because the creative parts requires inspiration, influence. How can you influence your customers, right? So I think for us, how do we balance the art and science? I think that's the essence of Taylor, right?
mm.
So that's why we do have human stylists, professional human stylists. Okay, they also, because our customer, they do enjoy the personalization, interacting with real human, not just chatting with the bots, right? And then at the same time, how do we leverage the technology, right, to read all the dynamic data and very complex human behaviors. This is from the get-go. They say they want this. They say they prefer this. These are all the customer preferences. But over time, as we monitor, their preferences, their feedback, things
Mm.
change.
Yeah.
Why things will change? I think it's also a matter of how we influence. We do have the I think the responsibility as a styling company stylist, right, to inspire you, to
Mm.
influence, how you perceive a certain
I mean, they're
color,
coming to
certain
you
clothes,
for
right?
style advice, right? So like
Right.
you should
Yes.
be in the positive, like influence could be seen as a negative thing, but if anything, they want your help. So your job is to influence them and say, "Hey, look, you've maybe said this thing, you've picked this other thing a lot. We think this would look good on you and that you would like this." Like that's what you're doing,
Right.
right?
Right. And
Okay.
people don't know what they don't know, right? We hear this all the
Sure.
time, but it's very true, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of, they may say, "Oh, I don't think I look good in red."
That
I
sounds like
don't
my
think I
daughter.
look,
I don't
but
like
that's not
that thing.
always true.
Have you tried that
Right?
before? No, I've never tried that before. How would you know?
Exactly.
Yep. I love that.
Exactly. So it requires a lot of inspiration, I think. How do we, yeah, use the data, to help us make better decision, curate better outfit for our customer. At the same time, we also want to push out, stretch them out a little bit, right, outside of their comfort
Yeah.
zone.
I it's crazy. We're in two very different businesses, and yet I see a lot of the same things serving brands, helping them to grow on Amazon. The biggest one is they don't know what they don't know. They partner with an agency. The agency should be telling them, "Hey, this is incorrect. We need to fix this." Or, "Hey, we need to do this. We need to do this." And did you know that this was a problem? And a lot of times what they do is that instead of helping them to grow, which growth requires a bit of uncomfortability. Humans
Agree.
as they grow have growing pains. If you want to grow in the gym and get stronger, you have to break down muscles. If you want to, lose weight to have better longevity over time, it requires uncomfortability of changing how you eat. Like all of those things require some uncomfortability or some discomfort. And a lot of times, instead of helping them grow and pushing them through a period of discomfort, they end up managing and they don't tell them what they don't know. And then the customer says, or the client, "We want, I don't look good in red." My version of that is, well, we want to, 5% tacos target, total advertising cost of spend. So they want to spend $5 and they want to make $100. And other agencies might say, okay, cool, we'll manage to that. And what we say is, why do you want a 5% tacos? Well, we need to be more profitable. Okay, great. Do you realize though that your sales are declining and that you've managed to this tacos target, which has actually declined your top line? And you need to go through a period of stretching, like you talked about, stretching the mind, stretching the capabilities. It's like crazy how aligned this is right now as I'm saying this, but you need to go from a place of 5 to maybe 20, 25% tacos so that you can grow, so that long term you get the visibility that you want. There is the first 3 to 6 months in a agency client relationship for us, there's a lot of trust building, but it can be very contentious because they're getting pressed on what they thought to be true and what they knew to be true, and we have to help them to reprogram, for lack of a better term, how they think and look about Amazon. And then as they start to see results, it starts to make sense. So like that rings so true, whether it's services for Amazon, whether it's, you know, getting dressed well for life and for your career and all that stuff. Like people really
totally
need
agree.
growth. They need growth in order to be different than they were the day before.
Right, totally. Yeah, I think that's why, um, I think for any businesses, right, your ability to learn and adapt fast is so important, right? And because that's how you can deliver real result very quickly and then proven methods, in your case to your clients, right? And the proven traction to your clients very quickly. Hey, this way it works, right? It shows in 2 weeks, right? In our case also, because our rental model, right? I think we are able to generate it's very powerful data, customer insights for every clothing wear, and I think the learning, um, the data, the unique data that make us unique and powerful, in how we serve our customers, and also, how we can help the clothing brands to make and design better products.
Right now, where's the, like, how are you capturing this user data and how are you using generative AI to to get outputs from that?
Yeah. So, we use the AI, obviously, from end to end, right? From the time the customer onboarded, we gather their baseline information, who they are, yes, their preferences. That's baseline, doesn't mean we follow blindly, okay? And there are measurements, right? We also have data of all the clothing brands we partner with. Right now, we offer over 100 clothing brands.
Wow.
Clothing brands from all over the world. They may have different measurements, right? Unfortunately, there's no one standard sizing, you know,
Yeah.
uh, sizing measurement, across clothing brands. So, but we have to capture all the different measurements,
Mm,
different brands,
okay.
and that's all in our system, right? As the customers continue started the journey, continues the journey, right? They give us feedback. They will tell us what they like, what they don't like, why. Very specific, unlike a typical traditional e-commerce, right? Someone, when was the last time you go to a brand website and give them actual comments, right? It's usually very rare. So in our case, because it's a rental styling model, our customers do give us a lot of unique feedback because they want to make sure that they get a better shipment the next time. If something is something that they don't feel comfortable or too short, too tight, whether on the shoulders or sleeve, they will tell us. So we process, capture all the information, whether it's structure and structure, in different delivery methods, right? That's how we continue to optimize, to build intelligence around to give them better outfits the next time, right? So it's a complete, very fast feedback loop.
Okay.
I think that's the data engine that we built.
Feedback loops are so important. And that's something that I talk about internally with my team is like, hey, we encountered an issue and we fixed the issue. did we learn anything from that issue? Because if we didn't learn anything, we're not really growing or advancing, because it's likely we see that thing pop up again. It's likely someone doesn't like a certain outfit or the sleeve length or something. How do we not just capture that data, but how do we utilize that to learn and not make those same mistakes, or to perform better the next time? And a lot of times I think people have good intent to like leverage that data or leverage that learning, but I don't think they take time to think about it. And then two, they don't action on it. They're like, I'm going to get to that later. And the reality is you will never get to that later if you don't address it in the moment. So those quick feedback loops of gathering the data, but it's not just that. To your point, it's reviewing it and then updating what you do. Like, data only makes you more proud if you don't take that wisdom that you get and apply it. Like, more knowledge creates pride if not used and action upon.
Right, right. I think before Gen AI, it's definitely a harder problem to solve. Right now, yeah, you can continue to learn and adapt very quickly.
Love it. Phoebe, if people want to know more about what you're doing, tell them where to find you.
Sure. So you can go check out our website at tailor.style. Tailor spelled as Taelor dot style. So check us out, and of course, you can always connect with me on my LinkedIn. Find me, Phoebe Tan. Always love to connect with young people. We continue to expand our clothing brands. If you are clothing brands, I love to consider to do a partnership, right? And then that also um, give you a chance, to tap into the circular model and by partnering with Taylor.
Love it. Thank you so much for being here. Crazy that a clothing rental brand and a service agency for Amazon could have so many similarities, but I learned some stuff. Thanks for being
Thank
here.
you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. That's all we got today, people. Until next time.